Vice President of GGNE, your question is a double question, one on remuneration and the other on assault of journalists. With regards to remuneration, I would say that it's not only journalists in the state-owned media who are dissatisfied with their salaries. Public service salaries are not living wages. I agree with the TUC that we must work towards a living wage. All of us are dissatisfied with the salary we get as public servants. The private sector offers better remuneration, but that's why we have to work together to grow the national cake so that we can pay ourselves better. And that is why there's agitation for cancellation of Article 71 in the Constitution, because we all must feel the pinch so that we can grow things together. But when you cushion a certain constitutional class and they have more cushy remuneration than the other people, then it creates a kind of discrimination between public service. And so our advocacy has been for an independent emoluments commission that would deal with the salaries and wages of all persons in the public sector so that we grow those wages together. In our first incarnation under Professor Mills, we established a single spine salary structure. And that salary structure was supposed to uniform out wages in the public sector so that the disparity will not be too wide. So if you are a secretary in GBC compared to a secretary in, say, Bank of Ghana, there will not be that very wide disparity. Unfortunately, the single spine atonsium, because of the inability to maintain the discipline in public sector wages, over the last 8 years, the group that is able to strike the most gets more addition to their wages than those that don't go on strike. And so the disparities have occurred again. And so we're in consultation with organized labor to see what we can do about reforming public sector wages. And I'm sure that if those wages are made better, journalists working in the public sector would also have an improvement in their remuneration. With the private sector, government does not have control there. And what happens is we have such a proliferation of private media that advertising revenue is not enough, to be able to maintain the kinds of salaries that we all expect. Maybe if we had fewer, then the advertising revenue would go around and people can have more. But our Constitution guarantees freedom to establish a media of mass communication. And so you cannot restrain how many radio stations you have or how many newspapers you have. And so it's something that we have to live with for a while. Natural competition will phase out the stations that are not competitive, and those that are able to survive will see that they're able to make more money from advertising. The main revenue for media all over the world is advertising. And so we'll see how that goes. I've condemned assaults on journalists in any form. Journalists are doing their job, and their job is to bring news to the doorsteps of our people and to inform them, educate and entertain them. And so at every event you will have journalists there. Unfortunately, some security personnel have developed a penchant for just harassing journalists. And so it's a matter of educating people. It's a matter of, sanctioning people who assault journalists. And I've been speaking with my president of GJA, saying that we're going to bring them together with the security agencies so that they must carry out an awareness amongst their people who provide security at events, that if you see a journalist at an event, he's also doing a job like you, the security person, are doing your job. And so you don't have the right to assault them or to manhandle them. And so we'll keep working at it. I mean, definitely, as a member of the GJA, a lifetime member of the GJA, there's no way I'll condone assault of journalists in any form. We do occasional review of tariffs. And when these tariffs are about to be reviewed, proposals are requested from the utility organizations. And so I noted that recently Ghana Water presented their proposal, and Electricity Company of Ghana also presented their proposal. It doesn't mean that the proposal they present is what is going to be implemented. We have the regulator, which is the PURC, that looks at all the factors, including the exchange rates, including the cost of production and all that, before they determine what increase in tariff is allowed. And so the fact that you hear that water companies says they're going to increase by 200 and something percent does not necessarily mean that PURC is going to allow them to do that. Now, meaning about Obusa ECG then also, the same for both utilities. ECG so I propose 200 and something percent, but I know interest PURC budget to say to me into electricity tariffs musa. Share a nyoma a core electricity production mo to say fuel nesa nyoma ni na ansana omahwe senya omo de tariff ni besi na MRP no at the frontier your tariffs akosro ni se nipa bebre entua enti wo hwe ECG say your case commercial and technical losses are almost 42%. I just say of electricity almost ton almost to me a home aketua of only about 58%. Na eno anka wiase afa na bia ankasa edwuma ya se wo ye edwuma bia na bibia wo ton bia wonya just return of 58% anka by now edwuma na gu nso akoya aban de se kire so na aban abeboa kire so na aban abeboa enti afi de ya sesa omo hwe edwuma no so na ya kenya omo se omo sorry na omo nante na nea onkrofo mu wia iram kania no ni ade nyina yencheche omo na yentwe omo aso efise se yen nyina atwa ebema eton no ebo na bafom enti edwuma ye begu so aye Bloomberg, yes, we're quite happy with the outcomes of the reforms that we have been implementing in the economy. And we have survived without going to the capital markets. We've survived without borrowing. Who could have thought some years ago that Ghana's economy could be run without going to the external market to borrow? And yet, we've survived. And so we shouldn't be in a hurry to go back to the capital market. All we've done is to reorder our expenditure and push funds to areas that are of priority. And so that's all we've done. Fiscal discipline, not spending money on wasteful, political interventions and all that. And that is already showing the successes in the market. I mean, we've gone from negative 3.4% on the primary balance to positive 1.1 as at now. And by the end of the year, we'll achieve the target. I'm sure we'll overachieve the target of positive 1.5. And so it's all about discipline in expenditure. And so for me as the president, I would not favor a quick return to the international capital market. I think we should go like this for a while and consolidate the economy before we look at external financing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, having taken a set of questions from this side, I would go to this side and take 4 more questions. Kamini, you may have the first shot.
Mr. President, it's Kamini Amano. I'm the host of TV3's Hot Issues. We look forward to your return to the iconic show. I want to talk about the local currency, the Cedi. In the second quarter of the year, we saw a very bullish rise in the value of the Cedi. We are not seeing the same in the third quarter. So far, we are told that it's lost about some 13%. When it was on this rise, the IMF had warned that the country was over-interfering, which is why we were seeing the performance. My question tonight is, Mr. President, did you manipulate the performance of the Cedi? Is that why we are seeing the Cedi fall as quickly as it is today? How do you explain this decline in value in such a short period of time? And what's the plan to revive it?
Thank you very much. Nana Mejakwa, has the floor.
Patron and now Major Kunia TV. My question is oral. I'm saying, Mr. President, what can PR for oral? Now, the last accountability series, Attorney General, a statement in Pesemi Redi Kakami quoting Kakranami to us with the I wish to remind you of the fact that when I announced the Kwabena Edubwahi investigation, I was blunt in stating the fact that I am open to engaging in plea bargaining with those who have been investigated and found to have looted or stolen state resources. I mean no words about my intentions and will therefore not shut the door to any accused person willing to enter into negotiations with my office for purposes of reaching a plea agreement. Yenim se ya criminal and other offenses procedure amendment act 2022 plea bargaining. But my question is say you fight corruption. As Attorney General, State Attorney say we be na upon the atohonomwa. Say we loot state resource and as a fund bra. Then we may negotiate. Does it mean say we beti asese sikana me fire no me tuya ye jai no ana and they were honomwana. My question no that's
Justice from Shinhua News Agency.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Justice from China State Media, Shinhua News Agency. Looking at the global trade crisis that was ignited by the United States President, people have been wondering what countries like Ghana would be doing as a response. But we realized recently that the Chinese government has actually granted all African countries a zero tariff into their market. What will Ghana be doing to take advantage of that for our trading to be boosted as a substitute to what we may have been losing from the United States side? Thank you.
Before I take the final question from here, let me indicate that we are joined by journalists from across the regions through the power of technology. So as and when the technical folks sit down me, I would ask them to also contribute to this question and answer session. Alfred, you may have the last word in this batch.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Alfred Okanse. I work with TV3 as part of Media General. Just on the back of the oral question that was asked by a colleague of mine, over the weekend we had the General Secretary of your party indicate that there are some NDC lawyers who are cutting deals with some persons who are standing trial for acts of corruption. Is this statement one that you're minded by? And if you are, what are you going to do about this, especially because of how committed you are, as you indicated, to pursue oral because the Ghanaian people expect that you should do so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Now, we are joined by William Menta from Rich FM. So, William, if you can hear me, you have the floor.
Okay, so my name is William Menta from Asimposu-based Rich FM Central Region. And Mr. President, Central Region is known as the heartbeat of education and tourism. Yet our people still struggle with unemployment and underdeveloped infrastructure. What specific steps is your government and our strength into real jobs and opportunities for the youth? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You may answer this question, sir.
Thank you very much. The first question is about the rise in the value of the cedi. We recognize a very steep appreciation in the value of the cedi in response to the reforms that we were carrying out. And for those of you who listened to me, there was one occasion where I said, people were asking whether it will go below 10. And I said, it is dropping, but it will find its true value. It was undervalued at 16, and it probably is overvalued at 10. But somewhere between there, we have the real value of the cedi. And so I believe that it is about stopping rapid depreciation of the currency. Almost every currency would realize either depreciation or appreciation in the course of a year. But when you have steep depreciation of about, like we had in 2024, 25% depreciation in the currency in the first half of the year, it makes planning difficult. And so, yes, Bank of Ghana has been intervening in the forex market, but they've withdrawn. And what happened was that because of the rapid appreciation in the value of the cedi, we saw an exponential increase in imports, because then people could buy cheaper dollars and so they could import more, which is a natural economic phenomenon. But on the other side, exporters are not happy because they get less cedis for what they export. And so every country tries to find out a balance where exporters are able to do good business and importers are not overburdened by high forex rates. Where that lies, I don't know. I'm not a central bank. But the cedi is making an adjustment, and I believe that it will settle at a certain rate, and we will make sure that any depreciation that occurs in the value of the cedi is within a margin of about 5% per annum. That is what we target. And so for now, there's still speculation. It's also coincided with a period where we saw a reduction of 50% in remittances, because citizens in the diaspora were taken aback by the rapid appreciation of the cedi. And so if somebody was building a house, if he was going to send $100,000, it meant that he was losing a certain percentage of that 100,000. And most of them would decide to adopt a wait-and-see attitude and say, oh, no, as for cedi, it's not possible that the cedi can regain its value to that extent. By all means, it will go up again. So I'll hold back my remittance until the cedi goes back up. So we saw a 50% reduction. But there were also some other factors. There were some money transfer companies that were collecting cedis abroad and not repatriating collecting dollars abroad and not repatriating the dollars. There were other, which we're investigating, there were other cases where people applied through the commercial banks for foreign exchange to cover imports. And those monies are transferred to pay for imports, but the imports never came into Ghana. And we've studied a period of 4 years, and over the period of 4 years, about $42 billion was taken out of this country without the corresponding imports coming into the country. And so we started sanctioning some banks, and soon we'll start interrogating some individuals who ostensibly took money out against imports but never brought those imports. We want to know what happened and if there was wrongdoing to sanction whoever it is. While we work to stabilize our economy and improve the value of our currency, we must protect that currency, because a strong cedi is good for all of us. But when that happens, some people try to take advantage of it. And I think that we should all condemn anything like that. FR investigations now here with regards to oral. Senya Okayano, MPP address almost the Shishebi by IMRA se abandi wudi FR case bi ho se ebia wafesika na bibia o akwenya obetimi aka se yo ene aban case na mode kwedu amode bomeno me sande sika na se agudie bia na se bibia mode bomi kwedu no me sande aba se ne be ya bomfa me nkoto how do they call imprisonment? If you ask him, family got to if you say, Enti Yamra edaho, Enti Obia Yabon Quedubia, Ewo, to me say, Obeka say you, and yen castle, na memfa say imra, na yenjai sa no. Enti eno enye aban ena ebeka eye nipa yede na kugina court. And so say oka say oh munjai asem no mu na memfa say mra na say agodie bia me fa ye me famra na say japade bia me fa ye me famra na say bibi aban wa kwanya say ebeka say de bi enje na yebeto aso any case no. Enti ejina case no ene ni anipa ne ye enti still aban wo tumi say even though wako emra na se aka say me pese me san ede bibi bema aban na aban eja case no mu aban betimi aka say de bi yempe yenje enti eno eye case by case say o sheda ede adwenbone ewia yesika a echese eso a ye nyina echese I don't know how to explain. I just say abo aban anase oman car you to me say ebeka say yempe nia wode ba no na ye de obekwa akoto efiase ba ni be reason ka say na wode nkoto efiase wa na obeto aduane ama no wa na obehwe no oyare a wode no beko hospital enti say we wia sika na okase o sande sika be mawa ene ho wonfa so say ye beji ye sika chen say ye di dipa no beko efiase enti ye no de Attorney General ene behwe no akan near here. With regards to trade tariffs and China, zero tariffs, it's an incentive for us to export into the Chinese market. And we need to look at the items that China imports and see where we have a comparative advantage to be able to take up those imports. I know that China imports a lot from the US, and there's a trade tariff war between US and China. So China is looking for alternative markets to import those items. And so they import a lot of meats from the US, they import a lot of maize from the US, and other agricultural products. And so if we have arable land and we're in a position to expand our production, then the zero tariff will make meaningful sense. Then we can take advantage of it. But it is just a figure if we are not able to respond and be able to export into the Chinese market. But I think that it offers an opportunity for diversification of markets. Nobody wins tariff wars. It's unfortunate that America has appended the whole world trade system. We all work towards a rules-based trading system. It took years of negotiation from Rio to Doha round and all that. And eventually, reasonable tariffs were agreed between countries. Countries like Africa enjoyed zero tariff into the US because we were in the developing world. And so it was a concession that US gave. And what you receive in exchange is soft power, that, you know, a lot of people have a good disposition towards the US because the US has been kind to Africa and all that kind of thing. But in comes President Trump. He has a more transactional mindset, and he says that the US has been taken for granted for a long time. And so even countries like Ghana in Africa, he slapped a 15% tariff on us from zero tariff. And so AGUA is technically dead. It was due for renegotiation in September. There's no way with this 15% tariff, AGUA is going to be renewed. But we're just watching carefully. The power to impose tariffs is that of Congress. But in this case, the US president always pushes the limits. And so there's a case in the US Supreme Court to determine whether his impositions of tariffs are legal or not. And so depending on what the US court says, the tariffs would either be permanent or they might have to go back to Congress to endorse the tariffs that he has imposed. And then from the Central Region, Rich FM, he asked what we're doing to enhance the tourist attraction of the Central Region. It's all about infrastructure. It's also about service. With infrastructure, even the travel time to central region is a major problem. In Ghana, we've maintained single lane, highways for a very long time. They are prone to accidents. A lot of accidents occur. Now every day you hear there's an accident on the Kumasi Road, there's an accident on the Cape Coast Road. And that is because when two vehicles oncoming and going are using a single lane, the tendency for, head-on collisions are very real because of wrongful overtaking and all that. So one of our first things that would enhance tourism in the central region is that we're dualizing the road all the way to Takoradi. It will reduce travel time to Cape Coast. It will allow somebody to wake up in the morning, travel to Cape Coast, enjoy his tourist experience, and be back in the evening to Accra to sleep. And so reducing the travel time will help enhance that. But apart from that, we must identify what the tourist sites are, improve their attractiveness, and also improve the service delivery. One of the things that affects tourism in Ghana and West Africa is that our service is poor. You go to a restaurant and they think that they are doing you a favor. You go to eat and they think that you owe them, to serve you. If you go to other parts of the world, it's completely different. You are compelled to spend your money because they are all over you. Even before you finish the drink that they have given you, you are halfway. Can I bring you another drink? And if you are the shy type and things, you always say, oh, yes, yes. And you forget that you have to pay for it. And so we must improve our service delivery. Owners of services must take professionals who know how to be courteous to customers, to know that we are in this job because you've come here to eat or you've come here to do this. And so that's one of the drawbacks of our whole tourism experience. And most times you spend so much money, set up an establishment, instead of going for professionals, you go and haul your relatives from the village to come and serve people. They pay and they can't even get their change. You can't find the waiter who took your money. And when you even find them, he says, oh, we have no change. I mean, they have a certain sense of entitlement. And so until we reform all these, and it's an attitudinal problem, until we reform all these, and people who own these establishments make sure that service delivery is at near 100%, we would not be able to attract enough tourists into our country. We have a beautiful country. People come and, they just say, look, this country is good. But if you hear a lot of the feedback and you say, oh, but what is negative about it? Oh, your service is not the best. Always, that's the feedback that comes. But the government will do its part. Government has the responsibility for making sure the infrastructure is good. And we're starting with the road, making sure that we dualize the road all the way to Cape Coast and Central Region.
Citizen TV, Accra, Ghana. Citizen TV, the citizen's power.